Let's preview next week's events. So this is a preview for the week beginning on June 6th, ending on June 10th. 5 days, Monday to Friday. So on Monday, no time to rest, no time for echoes from the non-farm payrolls. Janet Yellen will be speaking in Philadelphia in a speech which is highly anticipated. She did surprise by making some comments last time. She talked about a rate hike in the coming months. She showed confidence also on inflation. Now she'll have an opportunity to comment also after this non-farm payrolls report that we'll have today. So the markets will not have or will not need too much time to assess what this report means. And again, it could be confusing because of the Verizon strike. They'll just have the immediate analysis from the one that matters most, the chair of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen. So this event really stands out. It's Monday afternoon. On Tuesday, we have the Australian rate decision. Will they, won't they cut? According to the recent GDP figure, everything's great in Australia, they won't cut. It's most likely that they won't cut, but I'm not sure. I mean, not all is perfect in Australia. Not all as good as gold, as they say in the land down under. So I think they will be relatively cautious. On Wednesday, we have oil inventories, as always. So also important for the Canadian dollar, and a rate decision also by the RBNZ, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. It's a bit mixed there. Not expected to cut, but you never know. They can surprise markets. All right. So Monday we have the United States. Then we move away to commodities on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday, Draghi is back 1 week after the ECB. He'll be speaking in Brussels, okay? And let's see if he makes big statements apart from asking governments to do more, which is his regular line in recent months. Let's see if he shows more optimism or more worries. Given his speech yesterday, I expect a bit more worries, something about darker clouds, perhaps echoing the speech by Shinzo Abe, the Japanese Prime Minister. And on Friday, it's back to North America after a tour around the world with the Canadian jobs report, always important for the Canadian dollar, and US consumer sentiment, the preliminary read for June from the University of Michigan, very early in June, just to the 10th of June. Anyway, sort of the last word for the weekend, okay? Yeah. And on June 10th, next week, the Euro Cup begins. I'll have to find, I guess I'll cheer Spain, but I'm not sure. I'm mentioning this because volume becomes a bit lower when there are football matches. Now, many of these matches are in the evening, okay? So Europeans are watching these matches, not Americans, but nevertheless, some of them are in the afternoon, and it sort of draws some attention away from markets, okay? And I don't remember when the games end. I think it's the beginning of July, but we do know that there's an impact of football or soccer if you're in the United States on trading volumes, okay? Lucas says, surprising how complacent the risk is in the face of forthcoming rate hike. Emerging markets holding up well, typically 9 months after the beginning of the Fed tightening cycle brings about sniff of recession. Stocks don't seem to be bothered for now. Well, my answer to that, Luca, is that this is not a typical tightening cycle because the Fed is moving as slow as possible, okay? I mean, basically it's highest quality of slow motion that you can think about. We are seeing some slowdown in emerging markets. But usually these tightening cycles, another thing to watch out for is previous tightening cycles were in tandem with other central banks. The US did not act on its own. Okay, maybe the US was leading the world. Maybe the tightening cycle was stronger in the United States than in other countries. But this time it's clear divergence. I mean, the Bank of Japan did more, the ECB did more since the tightening cycle began. And of course, since the tightening was talked about, since the tapering ended in October, if you can look at it like this, the tightening cycle began at the end of 2013 with the announcement of tapering. Then tapering ended in October 2014. Then we had talk about raising rates, a huge preparation throughout 2015, and finally the rate hike. And during all this time, we had more easing from the Bank of Japan. Sorry, more easing from the ECB, more easing from other central banks as well. So, yeah. So it's okay. Previous tightening cycles were also together with other central banks, and we're not seeing it now. Yeah, Jack says volume lower because they use the account money to bet the games. Yeah. They're betting on games on who scores the first goal instead of playing in foreign exchange markets. Yeah, but by the way, Luca, to get back to your comment, we did have a stark warning from Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe about, and the IMF is also warning us, and Goldman talked about another devaluation of the Chinese yuan. Not all is pretty in the global economy. The OECD, the IMF lowered forecasts. Some talk about another crash in stock markets, some big default, some big event, the crash of commodities. And if you want to make dark clouds, paint dark clouds, you can certainly find lots of reasons for that. Okay.